Okay. Hey guys, this is Tiger Talk 12, also known as Wild Mouse. And this is my friend Noelle. And this is my friend Kelsey. And we just got back, well not really, because the other video didn't work. We just got back from watching The Last Airbender. It is the worst movie ever. It was just awful. Because there was nothing about it was accurate to the cartoon at all. Because, like, first things first, they didn't pronounce any of the names the right way. Actually, did a couple of them. I think they pronounced Katara's name correctly, because they only ever said her name, like, once during the movie. But then they pronounced Sokka's name as Sokka, they pronounced Aang's name as Ong, and they pronounced Avatar as Avatar. I think they pronounced Zuko's name correctly. I think. And then, but then they pronounced Iroh's name as, like, Iro. And then none of the characters were in character either. Like, Sokka was kind of serious, and then Aang was just, like, a total pansy, and, like, nothing like he is in the cartoon. And then Katara was probably the closest, because she always looked like she was about to cry. Because Katara, no, I hate Katara. Just gonna put that out there. And then Zhao doesn't have sideburns, for one thing, which is, like, his signature thing in the cartoon. And he also didn't really have that big of a temper. And then Zuko's scar just pretty much looks like someone punched him in the face. He just looks like he had a black eye. Except, like, back here, over on this side, it looked like he had a scar, but then otherwise it just looks like his eyes just look like all purple. And then, so the way...
He didn't have his ponytail.
Yeah, he didn't have a ponytail. It was more like his hair in book 2, early on in book 2.
They could have put a bald cap on with a ponytail.
I know. And so, okay, so they don't really find Aang the same way they did in the cartoon. They still come out of the iceberg and stuff, but they're not, like, fishing or anything. They just kind of like, oh, there's a thing in the ground. I'm going to hit it. And then it explodes. And then but Aang doesn't wake up the same way they does in the cartoon. Because in the cartoon he's like, ah! And the movie's like, oh, I'm going to be dead. I'm just going to look at you and go back to sleep now. And then, the way when they take Aang, Zuko comes and they take Aang, they don't really have that little mini fight. They're just like, Zuko's like, I'm going to destroy the village. And he's like, don't destroy the village. I'll come with you. He's like, okay, I won't destroy the village. Let's go. So then they leave, and then Iroh comes in with Zuko, and he's like, I'm going to give you a test. And he puts a candle in front of him, the flame gets bigger. And then they pour out some water, and he's like, oh, it's a perfect circle. And then it's like, he puts out a rock, and it stands up. He's like, you're our prisoner now. And then he's like, what? And then, but that never happened in the cartoon at all. Oh, another thing, Iroh, he's not kind of like shorter than Zuko, he's like the same height, and he like has dreadlocks, and he also has hubby. Yeah.
Go.
Okay, so we got interrupted, but so Iroh, he's not shorter than Zuko, he's like the same height, but he has like dreadlocks, and he's also not fat.
Or stubby. Or wait, yeah. Tubby, whatever, stubby.
Okay. So for one thing, that whole test thing didn't happen at all. Nothing like that happened. And when Aang breaks out, he's like, oh, I'm escaping. He's like blows people away, and then he gets on the deck, and they don't have this whole fight and going to the Avatar state thing. He's like, I'm flying away because Appa's over there because that's convenient. And then should they fly away. And then
they just watch him fly away.
Yeah, they don't even try and do anything. He's like, oh, they're leaving. I'm just gonna let them go. And then so then, what do they do? What happens? I don't remember exactly what happens right after. Oh, they go to the air temple, and they do the whole thing with find the monkey Yatso, and he freaks out. But they don't do the whole thing with the rooms with the statues. That happens when they go to the second air temple. Then that happens, but there's a guy there. And then he's like, I'm an Earth Kingdom person, but I come here all the time, so I know all about it. And then he's like, here, you should come see this room full of statues. Oh, past lives, things like that. He's like, and then the guy was like, oh, you can look a nice person, but I'm going to kill you. And he pulls out a knife, and then there's like other Fire Nation people there. They're like, ambush, we're going to capture you. And then they take him to the whole thing with, where Zuko rescues him. I'll get to that in a second, because there was something before that, the whole thing with Haru, that episode, yeah, well, in this episode, it's just like some random little kid, and then all the Fire Nation people come, because they hide behind, he's like, oh, I'm confusing you, because I'm confusing myself. So he goes, like, some random little kid runs up to them, he, like, hides behind Sokka, and then he's like, these Fire Nation people come, and then there's, like, something about, I think it's like, you're the Avatar or something, I don't remember. And then they arrest all 4 of them, but they don't take them to, like, the whole metal thing in the middle of the ocean with no earth. It's just some random camp where there's plenty of earth to them. And then the whole thing where Katara gives that really annoying speech because Katara is annoying, I hate her. Aang gives that speech, which makes no sense. And then they fight the Fire Nation and they leave. And then
they decide to go help the other people.
What?
They decide to go help the other.
Yeah, and then it's like, we're gonna go free other towns as we go to the North Pole, which does happen in the cartoon, but they don't like to decide that. It just ends up happening. And then, I never meet the Kyoshi warriors either. I have a feeling that like Suki's like not gonna be in the movies. Anyway, and then
poor lover.
And then so then they go. Where did they go after that? Oh, and so then the whole thing with the police. No, before that, they're like, Aang's trying to learn waterbending because they find the waterbending school because like for some reason the earthbenders just have it. I don't know. And then so they don't steal it from the pirates, so that whole thing gets erased. But so then Aang apparently can't learn, isn't very good. He's like, water, no, I'm not going to because I'm pansy. And then, because he's like all sad about his people dying, which never happened. Like, in the cartoons, Aang didn't even have to try a waterbending. He's like, I'm waterbending because I'm cool!
And they also said that he couldn't have any family.
Oh yeah, and they kept bringing up, like, that the monks told him that Aang could never have a family because he's the Avatar. That never happened in the cartoon. They never told him that, and no. And then
Sokka's ponytail.
Sokka's ponytail was too long. It's supposed to be all short, but it was like an actual ponytail. But then, so then after they, the waterbending thing, and then they go to the air temple, just Aang by himself goes to the second air temple where they have that ambush thing that I already talked about, and so then they take him to that prison thing where, Zhao has him. That was probably the most accurate scene in the movie because the whole fight, Zuko breaking Aang out was pretty accurate. Other than when they actually got to the battle, Aang leaves and battles on his own, and then is going to leave without Zuko, which never happened in the cartoon. They was like, we're gonna do little battle as possible, and just get out of here. But no, that didn't happen. But then the rest of it was close. And then, what happened after that? They go to...
Zuko gets blown up.
Yeah, that happened in the cartoon, but the pirates didn't do it. They're just like, it gets blown up. Because it's implied that Zhao still did it, but the pirates didn't do it. There wasn't exactly... It was weird.
And then skip to North Pole part.
Yeah, and then pretty much it was the North Pole. So, the North Pole, for one thing, they said that Yue's father was dead, which he wasn't in the cartoon. He was running everything. Yue was just kind of there. But, so, Sokka, they become friends, but they don't mention anything about Yue already being engaged, because she's apparently not in the movie. And then, Katara is just allowed to learn waterbending. There's no whole thing about, girls can't learn how to fight in our village, because we're sexist. That she just could. And then, Aang still being a pansy about waterbending, which never happened. And then, but then the whole thing with the spirit world, first. So they go to, Aang wants to talk to the spirits so they go to the place, that whole spiritual place. It's in a cave, which wasn't how it was in the cartoons. But, so then, the whole thing with the spirit world is, there's some dragon spirit that Aang kept talking to. No, the only dragon spirit there was in the cartoon was Roku's dragon, who would take him to Roku. He didn't give Aang any guidance, but that was the only spirit Aang ever talks to. And so then, Zuko and Katara have their little battle, which wasn't really a battle. Zuko's like, fire! Katara's like, I thought it was water. And Zuko's like, fire again! Oh my god, I died! And then Zuko takes Aang, but he doesn't leave the city. He just kind of hides in some random building. I don't know. And then, so then they're having the battle and stuff, and I guess that was kind of okay. And Zhao's still going on, I'm going to kill the moon spirit. And I was like, no, you probably shouldn't, but they go to anyway. But so when that happens, they're like, Iroh like kills the moon spirit, and then instead of the whole like Iroh actually fighting them, he's like, I can create fire without having a fire source, even though that's already how you can do it in the cartoon. And then everyone's like, oh my god, he can do it without a fire source, so they all ran away. And Iroh lets them run away. And then so then Yue gives her life back to the moon spirit, but she doesn't become the moon spirit. She just gets in the water, her hair turns dark, and she just dies. And then that's not how it happened, because the whole kiss thing happens before she dies, obviously, because she doesn't become the moon spirit. And then the entire time when everyone was like, oh my god, she's dying, I was just like, that is not how it happened. I was literally like, that entire scene, that's what it looked like. They can tell you. And then, so then the whole thing with Aang, using the ocean spirit to help him, and he goes in the Avatar state, and he's that cool fish thingy, never happens. So, Zhao doesn't die the same way he does in the cartoon. He has, 4 minutes, he said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then he's on the bridge, and there's Iroh's and then Iroh and Zuko just leave. Some 4 random waterbenders come up and be like, I can't tell if they drowned him or if the fall killed him. I really can't tell.
And it was creepy how his eyes are still open, because if you drowned, your eyes kind of just close.
Okay.
But I know that.
And then, so then Aang, the way they, defeat the Fire Nation is, Aang goes up to the top wall, and he's just like, I'm going to go in the Avatar state. Wall of water. And he doesn't even attack him with it. He's just a wall of water. And the Fire Nation's like, oh my god. So then they leave. Not what happened. And then, just because a wall of water is not going to kill us. And so then, there's this whole thing that they kept going about the Airbenders, when Aang became the, Avatar or whatever, they, bowed to him, and Aang's supposed to bow back, but he didn't. He ran away instead. And then there's the whole thing, the whole, Water Nation, bows down to him, and Aang actually does do the whole bowing back thing. That never happened in the cartoon at all, whatsoever. Oh, and Monkey also wasn't, an old person. He was just kind of an older person. He wasn't really old.
And Momo and, Appa.
Yeah, Momo and Appa didn't look like Momo and Appa. Not really.
And then Appa's voice.
Appa's voice, it was still low-pitched like Appa's in the cartoon, but it was, too high-pitched,
for Appa.
Yeah. And then, what else? I already said I went on about the spirit world thing, right? With the dragon spirit?
Yeah.
Okay. What else was terrible?
The sword.
Okay, and so at the end of the movie, it's the Fire Lord is talking to Azula, you have to go stall time for Sozin's Comet to come in 3 years. Sozin's Comet comes at the end of the summer, not in 3 years. I realize the movie directors are probably going to make the next 2 movies in the next 2 years, but that's not what happens in the cartoon at all. As soon as I realized it, I was when I heard that, I was like, fuck. In there, when I was in the movie theater, and then I actually, I almost said, I was like, what the crap? Because the credits started rolling, I stood up and I was like, what the crap was this? And I was like, what? And I was like, this is the worst. You guys should have seen me when I walked out of the movie for the first time. In fact, during the entire movie, I was like that. If it wasn't for the fact that there were actually people in the movie theater, I probably would have actually been yelling at the movie.
If it was a movie at home, yeah.
Yeah. Instead, I was just that's not what happened. Apparently so loudly that people around me could hear it instead of just Kelsey. It's an awful movie. Unless you want to rant about it like I did, which I probably will be for a long time, don't go see it, even though most of you probably have or were considering it.
And when the second...
You're obsessed with it.
And
yes, I know exactly what happens in every episode. So. And
you'll probably get this again when the second movie comes out.
The other 2 movies, and I'm just going to be even more angry because I like book 2 and book 3 more than I like book 1. How much time do we have left?
20 seconds.
Okay then, I think I'm done ranting about everything. I'm not entirely sure. If I'm not, I'll make another video sometime when I have more memory on my camera. So, bye guys! Turn the camera